How's it going, guys? It's Aaron from Minnesota Pro Paintball here. Today what we got for you is a Planet Eclipse GSL unboxing and overview video. And the other thing we're going to do at the end of the video is compare the bolt kit from the GSL to a 3.1 and explain some of the differences and what makes the GSL core so much more efficient than the 3.1. So, that being said, let's get into it. I do need to thank one of my customers, Robbie Dio, for letting me borrow his GSL. We actually sold all of ours before I could get to it, the video, unfortunately. So he was nice enough to let me borrow his. So we'll work our way from the top of the case to the bottom here. So of course you have the nice SL kit that Planet always gives you with the SL models. The nice thing about the newer SLs is that you do get a step down in the bore kit. So you have a 689, 685, and 681 bore, as well as a 16 and a 14-inch barrel. Personally, in the Midwest, our paint's a little bit small from what I've seen lately, so I would probably use like the 681 just because it's a good fit, but that's personal preference. So people will always use what works better for the paint. Some people just like overbore, so use the 689 anyway. Really just depends on the user. Next, we have the manual here. As always, the Planet manual is very detailed, lots of pictures, lots of details. Pretty much walks you through everything you need to know in the gun, how to clean it, how to maintain it, how to fix it, how to troubleshoot, all that good stuff. So they definitely give you all the information you need should you choose to use it. And then of course the ePortal CD, plug this into your computer and you can customize the boot up screen, you know, put your own images on there or whatever you decide to do to kind of make the gun a little bit more your own. So that's really nice. And then of course you have the barrel bag, it comes with every Planet Eclipse gun. You have the tube of PE grease, the GSL keychain, the soft face GSL bolt, the ePortal chip, which plugs into your board, the extra trigger, which I like to refer to as the scythe style. This is personally the one that I would use over the blade, just because I feel it's a little bit easier to walk, because I prefer to shoot semi over ramp whenever possible. But again, personal preference set aside. The Planet Eclipse tool tube has all the sizes that you need to properly maintain the gun and take it apart. So that's always a nice thing to have with you. The gigantic bag of spares. So you have all the O-rings that you need, screws, some extra soft face bolt tips, an extra prop shaft tip, springs, looks like an extra SFR adjuster if you need that. Basically everything you need to rebuild the gun, I believe 5 times, maybe even more than that. And then the cable here for the ePortal. This is just a basic USB 2.0 to mini USB cable. So if you have an Android smartphone, you can use the cable from that if you lose this one. And then the drop back / drop forward rail, depending on how you mount it. If you want the ASA in a little bit different position. It's a nice thing to have. Personally, I would drop it back if it were my gun because I like a little bit longer setup. And of course, the GSL itself. Now, the first thing that you notice with the GSL is that it has very aggressive milling. There's really deep cuts with lots of raised portions of the gun. From what I've been seeing, the machine time on each individual gun per GSL is roughly 7.5 to 8 hours, and that's just milling. That doesn't take into account the anodizing and the assembly and everything. So there's definitely a lot of time that goes into these guns. And if you look, I mean, you can tell like on the ASA, they mill off quite a bit of material, so it's much more streamlined and sleek. You do still have the same reg grip, upper reg portion, grips and back panel as the 3.1. I do know that the LV1 grip kits will fit with the exception of the upper piece right here, but like the back grips, the back panel, and then the bottom will fit. The only piece that wouldn't fit, like I said, is this upper piece, just because it's a little bit taller on the LV1. Like I said, the milling is very aggressive on here. I mean, if you look at the top, you can see a lot of detail and a lot of raised portions of the gun. So you could definitely see where this 7.5 or 8 hours machine time comes into play. There's a lot of intricate machine work. If you guys know anything about milling, it's not easy. It definitely takes a lot of time, especially to have this kind of detail and have it be this clean. The nice touch that the GSL has now is the pull up and pull back bolt kit. So it's easy to remove and get your entire bolt kit out. So that's kind of the overview of the gun itself. So now what we're going to do is compare the GSL bolt kit to the 3.1 and show you what some of the differences are and what the updates are that make it so much more efficient and a little bit smoother. So let's go. Okay, so what we have here now is the GO 3.1 bolt assembly and the GSL bolt assembly. So first what I'm going to do is show you guys the 3.1 assembly. Most of you guys already know this, but the can is independent of the back cap. It's not screwed in like the GSL. So you slide that out. And just for reference, so I'm going to show you guys the GSL. This is the 3.1 prop shaft tip. Just note the shape. And then the can and the bolt. I'll set those aside. So, like we said when we did the unboxing portion, the can is actually screwed into the back cap now, and the reason for this is that previously when you had the back cap screw into the back of the marker, what could happen is if you had good O-ring fitment and the can stayed tightly in place, you would actually unscrew the back cap from the can itself, which would end up causing you to have to reach into the gun and pull out the can itself, which would kind of negate having the easy out back cap anyways. So the first thing we'll look at is the prop shaft on the GSL. Note the different shape in that it is actually a little bit larger than the GO 3.1 kit. And the other difference that you'll notice is that the 3.1 bolt is a little bit shorter than the GSL, in addition to the venting being cut into the back walls of the GSL bolt itself. Now, there are two big changes here, like you said. And the changes that are made are what gives you that efficiency gain. So first is the venting in the back walls of the bolt. What that does is it slows down what's called the tail end air, and that's the air at the end of the shot that has no effect on the velocity of the ball as it leaves the chamber. Essentially, it's wasted air. In the 3.1, with the shorter bolt and non-venting, the firing assembly is able to trap about 3 or 4 psi per shot of that tail end air. With the slots cut in the back of the GSL bolt and the extra length, in addition to the different prop shaft tip, which actually senses the breech pressure of the gun rather than the atmospheric pressure, slowing down the air and having that added sensing ability of the breech pressure is able to trap much more of that tail end air, which is much closer to about 30 psi. So if you do the math on that, it's pretty easy to see where the added efficiency comes from when the CSL fires. So that's pretty much it, guys. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 952-892-1540 or shoot us an email at info@mnpropaintball.com. Thanks for watching.